This is a short presentation on writing workshops. I'll discuss some of the differences between doing them with technology and doing them conventionally. This presentation is intended for ELA teachers on a high school level, but writing workshops are useful and can be adapted to work with middle school and even elementary students. Writing workshops aren't new. They've been around since the 1970s, and they've been common practice since the late 80s. Prominent proponents are giants in the field of composition theory like Peter Elbow and Nancy Atwell, and they're part of most colleges' literacy and teacher training programs. Writing workshops work from this notion that there are stages in writing, and these stages should be mirrored in the writing workshop. The stages begin with pre-writing, which is really all about creating ideas and creating connections, generating ideas and creating connections and organizing thought. This is where mind mapping software can come in, or where people can do balloon writing or free writing on paper. Drafting is the second stage and is usually the most independent part. This is where pencil is put to paper or fingers are put to the keyboard and you're generating the bulk of the text. The third stage is revising, and this is where writers will get feedback from both their teacher and their peers. Higher order concerns are emphasized here, so notions of argument and content and organization are what are important here. After the revision stage is the editing stage, and this is where writers work with their peers and teachers for lower order concerns, things like grammar and spelling and formatting. Publishing is the final stage, and this is where you get a final draft which can be shared, whether that's on paper or online with the whole class or with the whole school or maybe beyond that to the internet. There are a number of things to consider about writing workshops. The stages are not necessarily discrete. In other words, you could very much be composing while you're in the pre-writing stage, or you could be writing while you're editing. Sometimes editing and revision sort of intermix, and it's difficult to draw clear distinctions between when each of the stages happen. It is important, though, to focus on higher order concerns before you focus on lower order concerns. It is always critical that the content and the organization, the structure, and the point of the paper take priority over elements of style and format. Developing a routine is also imperative in terms of running a writing workshop, so that the students become accustomed to the process. They start with gating their ideas. They put together a draft. They elicit feedback on the main ideas and their arguments, and then they do some polishing, and then finally they publish. Teacher modeling is also extremely helpful. I have found writing workshops to be most successful when I take part and I'm actually authoring something with my students. The big differences between doing them with and without technology is that technology affords you a number of options. One of the downfalls of writing with pen and paper the analog way is that after writing a first draft, if there are revisions, one starts from scratch. One is writing everything over, and there's a drudgery to that, particularly with younger students. It always seems like a shame to throw away pieces that have actually worked. Revisions and editing can be non-destructive. What this means is that you can allow student, peer feedback and teacher feedback to be added to a student's writing without crossing out or over or destroying any of their work. They can be added as comments, or they can be added as additions at the bottom of a piece of writing, but they no longer have to take priority or destroy something that's been created. And one of the other great features of writing workshops using digital technology is that the editing stage can ignore some of the lower order concerns. With spell checkers and grammar checkers and citation makers built into so many of the tools, these are things that we can really allow the software to do for us. Redundancies are digital. So what this means is, in a conventional class, writing workshop with conventional paper and pen, you're talking about paper as the medium. If the paper gets lost or damaged, it could be that all of the work could be gone. When you're talking about digital copies, you can make an infinite number of copies and never lose any of that data. If you're working on the cloud, say with Google Docs or Microsoft Office 360s, you can not only have multiple copies, but you can share those copies so that students can get feedback from multiple peers at one time. And you can publish to a larger audience. As I said before, digital writing workshops allow you to publish to just your class, or publish to just your school, or in some cases beyond that, broader out to the internet. Writing workshops using digital technology hit an awful lot of the standards, both Common Core and New York State standards. They also hit a lot of the HCI standards. In fact, they hit all 6 of the HCI standards. I would encourage people who are starting with writing workshops to check out, first of all, Gail E. Tompkins. She has a literacy for the 21st century, but also Jeff Gabriel, who writes eloquently about why digital writing matters and what students can gain from this process. But some of the big ticket items are increased engagement. Learner content can be part of e-folios. It streamlines the writing process, which means that you can actually spend more time on direct instruction, more time on composition practice, revision, higher order concerns. If students are not rewriting everything from scratch, there is more time to do some of these things. Electronic composition will be expected after school. Once some of our students have moved into college, no one is going to ask them to handwrite anything. And in the workplace, there's going to be very little of that as well. Writing workshops, the tools out there are amazing, but many of them are tools that schools already have and can be enhanced with free and open source options. LibreOffice, OpenOffice are great word processors at this point with a variety of built-in tools. There's also free online tools like Google Docs. Here are a number of the sources that I've used to create this presentation. And here are a list of some of the tools that I've referenced. Thank you very much.